fire snake.
Hey, dadgum, it's just mildly venomous, right?
Yeah.
The capacity to deliver venom has proved a pretty handy strategy for various desert animals, and there are plenty of different kinds that do so. Most famously, the rattlesnake.
Look at that sidewinding motion.
People have usually persecuted them and then wiped out their habitat. But now, they're finding some unusual allies.
Here he goes.
Funding for The Desert Speaks was provided by Desert Program Partners, representing concerned viewers making a financial commitment to the education about and preservation of deserts, and by the Stonewall Foundation.
She wasn't a child. The Sonoran Desert is about 5 million or so years old. Rattlesnakes were patrolling the area for many millions of years before the desert was formed. Human beings first encountered rattlesnakes about 12,000 years ago. Europeans arriving by boat about 500 years ago looked askance on venomous critters in general, and especially viewed rattlesnakes as something to be eliminated, as a nuisance and a threat. Hot deserts strike most of us as places that have an abundance of venomous creatures. And for once, we're right. The Sonoran Desert region in particular has far more poisonous wildlife than any other part of North America. At least 11 different kinds of rattlesnakes in Arizona, and a vast assortment of other creatures that can be dangerous to human beings. In the hot summer months, the best time to find them is at night. It's best done with fellow herpetologists, like my friend John Sloan, who may be even crazier than I am about our venomous brethren.
Where you drive along a paved highway or paved road and just look for animals in your headlights, and when you see them, you get out and typically photograph them, move them off the road, make sure they're safe. Big part of road hunting is to make sure the animals aren't getting run over by other cars. Is it a part of their natural existence? Now it is. I mean, we've fragmented the desert so much with these roads that, these animals are using them for, ways of life. And I've seen snakes and lizards get hit, so maybe this guy will live. It looks like he's bleeding out a little bit. He got his leg pretty bad. So, we'll let him go in the desert, and hopefully he'll make it. If not, then I'm sure he'll feed something else. Got a little banded gecko right here on the road. Just kind of hanging out, getting some warmth maybe.
Now, are they out eating these gnats or these?
Yeah.
Look at yourself, John. You've got quite a few.
Yeah, it's a buggy night.
Holy Toledo.
He should be chewing on these. He's got a lot of bugs to eat. We're going to go ahead. We'll move him off the road as well.
Yeah, good idea.
That way he doesn't get ran over like that last lizard.
Big send-off.
There he goes. There's two camps to the road cruise mentality. There's those that run at a fast speed, try to cover more ground. The more ground, the better. The more ground you cover, the more animals you're possibly going to see. The other camp runs at a real slow speed.
I'm going to go up there and see what's up here. All right, no question, we got a tarantula.
Got a tarantula, yeah. This is a interesting find here.
It's whitish.
Real blonde, and you got that real red
I'm used to the
rump.
dark reddish color.
So,
that is just a beautiful
But
beast.
you typically don't see females out moving like this. Because when they get real scared, worried about getting eaten by a coyote or something, they'll raise that butt up, they'll take those back legs, and they'll just kick off those hairs. Females live 10, 15, possibly 20-year mark. Males only live, I think, 7 or so years.
Well, they're pretty useless.
So typically, basically, they mature to the point where they are sexually, mature, and then they breed, and she either eats them or they die. All right, we'll get her off the road here. Let her go about her business. Sometimes I might spend all night on a road. I can't predict their cycle, when they're going to be out moving, what temperatures are the optimal temperatures for them to be moving, so I just got to kind of speculate. Moon phase could be a factor. Obviously, weather is going to be a factor. Got this Sonoran Desert toad. I think that's what we got back here. Well, where'd he go is the question.
He was facing this way, wasn't he? Hey, here he is.
Okay, good.
How can they survive out here? 110 degrees, no rain, dry as it can ever get here.
Very dry. Bury themselves in the ground. That's how they're gonna do it.
They sense then the higher humidity?
Time to start feeding, yeah. They have a toxin, a bufotoxin. They got this big gland right here. Yeah, you see I squeeze it just a little bit right there. This little white mucus right here, if I squeeze it right there on my finger, that's the toxin. You know, you lick this, you can die from doing this. And people have.
It will kill dogs.
It will kill dogs, no doubt. It's killed people before. They actually hop. They don't actually hop, they actually walk more like a rabbit, like a jackrabbit, kinda. Oh, now he's gonna hop for me.
He doesn't seem to be alarmed at all by our presence.
Typically the etiquette for road cruising is to make sure that they're out of harm's way. Try to keep it going in the same direction that the animal's moving. It's obviously got its objective and it wants to get somewhere.
Well, a sidewinder on the highway like this is real vulnerable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, it is. Definitely this animal could easily get squashed by any car coming by. Look at that sidewinding motion.
Do you suppose that's why they're called sidewinders?
That's exactly why, right there.
They're also called
horned rattlesnake.
Horned rattlesnake, yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the scales above his eyes, they look like horns.
Yeah, they look like horns.
And they're actually not horns. What we have here is just a modified scale, and he's just taking it easy now.
That is one of the prettiest rattles I have ever seen.
That is a full rattle
Yeah.
string.
I think there's 22.
20, I counted 20, but let's call it 21, we'll meet in the middle.
I don't
You don't
think
see
I
that
have
too
ever
often.
seen a perfect
Yeah, you don't see that
rattle.
too often.
No, beautiful. The venom that these snakes pack is extremely complex, right?
It is.
It's taken a long time for that to evolve. So these are specialized killers in that their killing is directly related to their ability to eat what they kill.
Yes, it is. It is designed for them to quickly obtain energy to continue to survive. Highly evolved. The snake itself, I think, is highly evolved, from its rattle to its folding. I mean, these long hypodermic type fangs. I mean, the way its locomotion is, the eye scales.
So they really are extraordinary beasts.
They are. They are. We'll let this guy go right down here. All right, buddy.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.
Good luck hunting. It's more difficult to find snakes in the daytime during the cooler months. That's when it's useful to have scientists who cheat just a little. They insert radio implants in snakes to find out more about them. In this case, why they are attracted to the same places that certain people find attractive, such as a golf course.
With the tiger rattlesnakes, we're using telemetry so we can track them around. We know exactly where they're at all times. And we're looking at their movement patterns and how that might change as the development changes.
He's going to track her, but I think she's pretty
So that's
good.
really the key thing we're looking at, is effects of urban development on the snakes and on their movement patterns.
They do frequent the same rock piles over and over again?
The tiger rattlesnakes establish a home range, and they know exactly where they're at within that home range. They'll go to the same rock outcrops year after year, even the same bushes. Of course, as the development grows and you get more and more houses, every year when that tiger rattlesnake comes back out of hibernation in the spring, he's faced with more homes in his home range. And how they deal with that is one of the big things we're looking at. And we've already seen some shifts in the way they use their home ranges in response to buildings, houses, roads, things like that. They go as far south as southern Sonora, and the northern extent of their range is up north of Phoenix in the Bradshaw Mountains. Kind of a Sonoran Desert endemic, but they're now starting to pop up in some foothill areas within the Chihuahuan Desert. You see a lot more color variation across their range than I think you do for a lot of other species. Probably just adaptation to what the background is like where they live, what the rocks, what the soil are like. Light-colored rocks, the snakes will tend to be lighter colored. Same with the dark area. So it probably helps them blend in with their background. So tiger rattlesnakes have really tiny little heads, the smallest head relative to their body size of any rattlesnake. But they also have probably the most potent venom of any rattlesnake. With a neurotoxic component, their yield, though, is much smaller because the venom glands are in that small head. So they don't give out as much venom, but what they give out is pretty strong.
That's not free for the snake, so what are the advantages and disadvantages of having that strong poison?
Well, obviously the advantage is that, you know, if you strike something, and since they strike and release, the stronger it is, the quicker that thing's going to die, like a small mammal. And, you know, the less far that snake's going to have to go to track it down. They have been thought to be rare in the past, and I think that just has to do with the fact that they're so good at hiding. People don't turn them up that often. They're all around the foothills of Tucson, for example, but when people call with a snake in their backyard, it's almost always a diamondback and almost never a tiger. They're there. They just don't get themselves into trouble in the same way that the big diamondbacks do. This input of water for the golf course has really been a boon for the snakes. The tiger rattlesnakes are larger, they reproduce more, and so at this point in time, it seems like the golf course is really a great thing for them. Now, does that mean golf courses are really good for rattlesnakes and we should go out and build a bunch if we want a bunch of rattlesnakes? No, I don't think so. But it is nice to know that there is the potential that they could live in these kind of environments.
You getting close, Mickey?
Yeah, we're getting pretty close.
There's this concept called reconciliation ecology, which basically says that, you know, we need to maximize biodiversity on all different land use types, even developments, you know. Now, it's not mutually exclusive with setting aside, you know, pristine land somewhere, but even golf courses, even developments, I think we should be maximizing the wildlife values of those places. So to me, it's really about that more than it is about taking one side and saying development good, bad, and not really having any data to argue with. Let's just try to maximize the value on whatever the land use type. I've been fascinated with tiger rattlesnakes since I was a kid. I come from Wyoming, and there you just have, you know, one kind of rattlesnake, the prairie rattlesnake, and I'd look in the books and I saw these crazy looking tigers, you know, and I thought, I got to get down there one of these days. And so it's kind of a lifelong dream to be down here working with the species. And then the other reason is because nobody knew anything about them hardly, other than just, you know, basic anecdotal information. And so now we started this work in 1997, and so now 12, 13 years later, we have radio tracked over 100 individuals and located them over 10,000 times, and we've individually marked almost 1,100 tiger rattlesnakes. So they went from being one of the least understood rattlesnakes to certainly one of the most understood.
At the edge of the Sonoran Desert, away from urban sprawl at a few thousand feet up in the mountains, John Sloan and other herp fanatic brothers and sisters show me a different snake and a different research philosophy that is focusing on the way snakes behave and look. There's a certain syndrome of herpetologists that once they get addicted, you never lose it. They have this primordial fascination from our brain about snakes. Many people are terrified of them. Many people find them repulsive or scary. But then for some of us, they are about the epitome of fascination with nature. And this is a good example right here. What got you into spending so much time trying to find dens of rattlesnakes?
Well, it started off with garter snakes. Being from Michigan, that's pretty much all I had. After I moved out here, rattlesnakes just sparked my interest. The perfect nature of a rattlesnake, limbless animal, the development of their venom delivery system, being able to thrive in some of the harshest conditions in the United States, it amazed me. The adults seem to stay right at the rock structure, just basking when basking is available. We typically see male Arizona black rattlesnakes travel about a quarter of a mile to a half mile a year, and then return to these dens in the wintertime. We'll just set up a tripod right here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right now with this study, what we're looking to do is use video and photography to record most of our observations. At the dens themselves, that's all that will be used is video and photography. Hopefully they're gonna come out into this area and bask here. So that's what they were doing last weekend.
Okay.
It's hiding out up in there. Again, we're just waiting for that sun to really light this place up. These guys are gonna come out, poke their heads out.
Have a Saturday afternoon party.
We're seeing that these animals have pretty high site fidelity. They tend to return to the same den sites over and over again, year after year after year. One of the things we're wanting to look at is if we have animals that are crossing dens. Actually, that looks to be two different coils right there. The two dens we have in this vicinity are pretty close to each other. I can easily see the animals moving back and forth between the two. At this point, I have no definitive information that tells us that. I'm hoping that with this study, we'll be able to learn a little bit more about that. As you can see, we have another camera right up here in the tree, just shooting an entrance right here. Yeah, I'm assuming this boulder underneath just wraps down and around, and they just tuck right back down in there.
Well, that's a perfect place for them, isn't it?
Yeah. We usually see about 2 to 3 weeks of activity throughout the month of April. By the time May rolls around, the animals are starting to disperse.
So they will come back here in the fall then?
They will. Our protocol at these den sites are completely hands-off. As you can see with these animals here today, they typically just sit there, let us look at them. As long as I'm not pulling them out of their retreat, we have no problems. So hopefully what we're going to be able to do here is look at a new way of studying rattlesnakes, a non-invasive way, more of an observation type format. This is the typical color of a baby neonate Arizona black rattlesnake.
You'd almost not recognize the relationship between this and one of the big fat males.
They go black. So you get in about the 2-year age, they start to really go through this transformation where they go from this typical gray background color with the russet blotches, the brown blotches, to a black animal with yellow bands in the adult males. The females tend to be a little more drab, sometimes not showing the banding at all. We're gonna go ahead, let's try to sneak around here and see what we can.
I don't want to disturb them.
One of the really neat things we're looking at is that we've seen adult animals shift in color, going from a dark animal, black, almost jet black animal, to a slate gray animal with brown dorsal blotchings.
The most common theory for why they change color is that it's some sort of thermoregulatory behavior. So you would expect that when they emerge in the beginning of the day, when they're at their coldest, they would be black. And then as the day goes on, the ambient temperature's warm and the snake's warm, that they would turn into that gray color, and it would be really predictable daily cycle. All right, so this is an infrared laser-sighted thermometer. So what I'm doing now is trying to get an idea of the temperature conditions under the rock where this black female rattlesnake is sitting. When you're looking at these snakes, especially since their color change is shades of gray, different shadows and clouds and all that stuff plays tricks on your eyes, and you think they're changing color that they're not changing color, and they are. So this allows us to correct for some of that and also put a number next to it instead of just saying gray or black or brown.
In captivity, I've seen them go from being in the room 5 minutes ago, walking back in the room, the animal goes slate gray. We really have no information as to what is causing this. There's been a lot of speculation, but right now we're just not sure. In the size of the animal, I'm going to guess it's a female. Big-bodied animal, small head. The males tend to show the nice yellow bands or orange bands with the darker black color. They don't tend to be real skittish. They don't rattle at us too much. There's not too much striking. Obviously, within specimen of the species, we get variation. But as a whole, the species themselves tend to be fairly placid. It's not my day job. I'm an IT consultant by trade. Fortunately, I get to do this on the weekends and shuck off all that city work. The other one pays the bills. This is my love.
Back down among the saguaros in the Tiger Rattlesnake's backyard, another reptile,
Okay, so we just caught this guy the other night.
our only venomous lizard, is also finding golf course habitats to its liking.
And we're going to get growth measurements on him.
Where did you find him?
Actually, we caught him off the golf cart path out here.
Oh, really?
Right near the 4 fairway.
Huh. Is that good habitat for them?
Around there it is, but the problem is there's a lot of rocks around it, and then there's these big open fairways with no cover. To move through this development, we want to see if they're just taking the risk to go over the turf where there's no cover, or if they're taking some meandering way around it in cover. Okay, let's get a pit tag in them. Now that we've pit tagged, well, this is a whole project studying the effects of urban development on herpetofauna. I specifically study how it affects Gila monsters, and I do that using radiotelemetry and a method called fluorescent powder tracking, where I actually glue rabbit fur to the undersides of Gila monsters, coat it with fluorescent powder, and record their every movement with a GPS unit. And I'll let this Gila monster go, let him walk around for a few hours, and I'll come back later with a black light and follow that trail so I can see his every move out here. This technique's really not been done with Gila monsters before, but we are seeing that they're moving between point A and point B. They're moving twice that length. So just the straight line distance is half the length of of what they're actually doing in between.
The Gila monster needs time to go about its nightly routine, so we have two options. Sit around and wait a few hours, or get back on the road and find what other critters we come across. And while we're at it, release a few to see what they'll do now.
Lyre snake.
Hey, Trimorphodon.
There we go.
God, they are such a gorgeous snake. There's the lyre on there. Hey, dadgum, it's just mildly venomous, right?
Yeah.
You know, the price of being a herpetologist is often enduring lyre snake bites. So they're venomous, but they're not a viper. They're not even closely related to the vipers.
No, these are actually a colubrid snake, so they're related to
They're
like
garter snakes, huh?
like gopher snakes or garter snakes.
But they have somehow evolved to have venom coming from their rear.
Yeah, they have fangs located back here, whereas in a rattlesnake or a viper, it's going to be right at the front here. All right, let's bag him. There we go.
We know there's a flag here somewhere. There's a flag.
There it is. This will be the third time we've caught this snake in about as many weeks. It does have a chip.
And that's how you know who he is, or she.
Mm-hmm.
That coontail have a little bit of a color in there that's not natural.
Yeah, just after the old coontail there, we got some paint on the rattle. And each one of those rattle segments is painted a different color, the first three there, and those different colors stand for different numbers. In addition to allowing us to identify the snake at first glance, it'll also allow us to tell how many times that snake is shed. So say we catch this snake next year, and that pink segment is moved 2 segments up, we'll know that he is shed 2 times. Get out of here.
I'm gonna see this black-tailed you got. They've always been one of my favorites because they're mellow. What a teeny rattle. This has got to be a young'un. Herpetologists have always told me in this sort of situation, jump back or hold still. I choose to hold still.
So we picked Gila monsters because of some of their natural history traits. They're denning animals. They den up during the winter and then come out and in the spring. They also spend a lot of time underground. That gives the development a lot of time to grow while they're underground. So they can pop up from a burrow either in the spring when they come out of their dens or after a long spell in a shelter like a midden or a rock pile. They can come out and find that their whole home range has changed in composition from natural desert to houses.
So this is the tracking device.
Mm-hmm. It's comprised of antenna and a receiver here. So let's see if we can't get a signal on this guy. Sounds like he's going that way.
That way?
Yep.
Vicky, here's a scorpion. Yeah, boy, those things do stand out in the black light.
Yeah, they light up, don't they?
Yeah. So the Gila monster then.
Here he goes.
Now, do you suppose he had a place in mind, or is he just sniffing his way along?
Well, that's what we're trying to find out. So we're going to compare the movements of these free-ranging guys to powder tracks with our radio-telemetered animals.
Okay.
So then we can see if they actually have a directed motion or if this pattern differs from their natural movement.
One up here.
And you can see him coming all the way up this rock. And there's another loop right here. So there he is.
Yes, oh boy, yeah. That rock is good. He hits little protuberances on the rock and scrapes it off, so we'll see where he's going.
By doing this study, we're hoping to find out how the Gila monsters are actually moving in response to the different land use types along this development. So when that Gila monster is moving through intact desert and then he comes up to a fairway, how does his movement patterns differ? Or when he comes up to somebody's house, how is he moving around that? Gila monsters show really high fidelity to different shelters, and they have incredibly big home ranges. So when a Gila monster comes out of its den in the spring and tries to go to some of his normal shelters, they might be gone. There might be a house there now or a road there now. So what does that Gila monster do then? How does he react to that? And that's what we're hoping to find.
Well, we know he got that far, so he's come a good 100 yards.
Oh, absolutely.
But you can see his trail run off into somebody's yard there. It's ironic that for at least one species, and many more perhaps, Their best protection may lie in carefully controlled human development that recognizes that snakes and venomous critters in general can be an important part of our environment.
Next time on The Desert Speaks.
Eastern Sonora, Mexico is rugged, sparsely populated, and eerily appealing. Driving to the few cattle ranches that dot this rough landscape is tough enough, but a horse or a mule was necessary to find its most famous and elusive inhabitant, the jaguar.
But their product gland actually produces a toxin. Did I get in your eye?
Yeah.
Oh, are you kidding me?
No, it got my eye. After I washed out my eye, the only lingering effect was a slight numbness in the eyelid. I was lucky. So the pressure on that parotid gland actually caused that jet of the
just
toxin.
a little bit right there.
That was one of those freak things that happened.
Funding for The Desert Speaks was provided by Desert Program Partners, representing concerned viewers making a financial commitment to the education about and preservation of deserts, and by the Stonewall Foundation.
This entire season of The Desert Speaks is now available as a box set of 10 episodes. To order this or other programs from Arizona Public Media, visit our website, azpm.org, or call 800-841-5923.